Have you ever stood in your kitchen, holding a can of sardines, thinking to yourself, "This has to be good for me, right? It's fish. It's small. It's packed in oil or water. You've heard it's got those healthy fats everyone talks about." But then a quiet little voice in your head says, "Wait, is this actually helping my body, or quietly doing harm I can't see?" You're not alone. So many older adults just like you are trying to eat better, stay strong, protect their heart, keep their memory sharp. Do all the right things. And then you're faced with decisions like this. Sardines. Tiny fish in a can. Are they a miracle food, or a hidden trap? See, here's the thing, what seems like a simple snack could be affecting your bones, your blood pressure, even your brain. And the truth? It's not black and white. There's some good in there, yes. But there are also risks nobody's really talking about, especially when it comes to older bodies. And that's where it gets interesting. This isn't about scaring you. It's about empowering you. Because every bite you take in your 60, 70, 80, it matters more than ever. One small choice can make a big difference in your comfort, your independence, and even how long you stay sharp and strong. In this video, we're going to break it all down. You'll discover what the latest science says about sardines. What nutrients they offer that could boost your health in beautiful ways. What silent dangers may be hiding in that shiny tin can. And most importantly, how to make smart choices that protect your health, without giving up the foods you love. Some of what you'll hear might surprise you. And by the end, you'll know exactly where sardines belong, or don't, in your life. But first, let's make this a real conversation. If you already eat sardines, type, "I eat sardines," in the comments below. And if you're just here to learn or are a little unsure, write, "I'm curious." Let's see how many of us are walking the same path. And don't forget, if you care about living healthier as you age, or you're looking out for someone who does, tap that subscribe button. Here on Elderly Wisdom Guide, we're building a warm, informed space where older adults can thrive, together. Let's dive in. Sardines are a powerhouse of omega-3s. Let's start with Harold. He's 74, retired, and spends his mornings doing crossword puzzles and walking around the neighborhood with his little beagle, Max. Now, Harold had always been sharp. Never missed a name, a date, or the punchline of a good joke. But over the past year, something started to shift. He'd walk into the kitchen and forget why. He'd stare at the newspaper and realize he'd just read the same sentence 3 times. That kind of thing. Then one afternoon at the community center, a friend mentioned something simple, sardines. Said they were great for the brain, loaded with the kind of fat the mind thrives on. Harold laughed at first, sardines? Those smelly little fish? But he gave it a shot. Started small, just 2 cans a week. 3 months later, something unexpected happened. He wasn't misplacing his glasses as often. His thoughts felt clearer, lighter. His daughter even commented, "Dad, you seem more present." That's when Harold knew, maybe there was something to these tiny fish after all. And here's what the science says. Sardines are packed, and I mean packed, with omega-3 fatty acids. Specifically, DHA and EPA, the kind your brain loves. These fats aren't just good for you, they're essential as you age. They help reduce inflammation in the brain, improve blood flow, and protect neurons from damage. That foggy feeling? That slow recall? Omega-3s help smooth those edges. Now, some folks say, "Well, I already take a fish oil supplement, so I'm covered, right?" Not quite. Whole sardines give you something supplements can't. They deliver those fats alongside vitamin B12, selenium, and phospholipids. A fancy word for compounds that help your brain absorb all the goodness properly. It's like the difference between getting a toolbox and just a screwdriver. Plus, sardines are food, real food. That means your body knows what to do with them. So, if you're looking for a simple way to support your memory, your mood, and maybe even keep dementia at bay, consider this: start with just 1 serving a week. Look for sardines packed in extra virgin olive oil, not soybean or heavily processed oils. The olive oil adds its own heart-loving benefits and keeps things tasting smooth. But omega-3s? That's just the beginning. There's something inside these little fish that most people completely overlook. It's not the flesh, it's the bones. And what they do for your bones might just surprise you. A surprising source of calcium and vitamin D. Let's talk about Margaret. She's 79, lives on her own, and still tends to her rose garden every morning. She's tough. Raised 4 kids, taught for 30 years, and still remembers every neighbor's birthday. But last winter, a simple slip on the porch left her with a fractured wrist. Nothing dramatic, just one misstep on a wet step. But when she went in for X-rays, her doctor asked, "Margaret, how's your calcium intake?" Margaret hesitated. She hadn't had much milk in years. Cheese bothered her stomach, and yogurt just didn't sit right anymore. She felt a little embarrassed, to be honest. But when the doctor looked over her lab work, he blinked. "Actually," he said, "your calcium levels aren't bad at all. What are you eating?" And that's when it hit her. "I eat sardines," she said. 1 or 2 cans a week. She hadn't thought much of it. She liked the taste, and they were easy on her budget. But little did she know, those soft, nearly invisible bones in the sardines were quietly doing something powerful. Here's the science behind it. Most canned sardines, especially the ones that come whole, include the bones. They're not hard or sharp, they've been pressure cooked, softened by the canning process. And those tiny, soft bones are rich in calcium, one of the most absorbable kinds you can get. In fact, just 1 small can of sardines can deliver over 30% of your daily calcium needs. But it doesn't stop there. Sardines are also naturally high in vitamin D, which is essential because without enough vitamin D, your body can't absorb calcium properly, no matter how much of it you eat. And as we age, our skin doesn't produce vitamin D from sunlight the way it used to. So unless you're spending hours in the sun, which isn't ideal for older skin anyway, you're probably not getting enough. Together, calcium and vitamin D form a team. They work to strengthen your bones, reduce your risk of fractures, and help you stay steady, upright, and confident in your movements. Now, some folks are put off by the idea of eating fish bones. It sounds strange. Maybe even unsafe. But here's the truth, these bones are completely safe, soft enough to mash with a fork, and practically tasteless when prepared right. If you're not fond of the texture, here's a little trick: mash the sardines with a bit of mustard, avocado, or plain Greek yogurt. Spread it on whole grain toast or mix it into a salad. You'll never notice the bones, but your body will thank you for the nutrients. And Margaret? She healed up just fine. Her doctor told her, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And she has, only now she eats her sardines with a little extra pride. So yes, these tiny fish hold big power for your bones. But before you get too excited and start stacking your pantry shelves with sardine cans, there's something else we need to talk about. Because inside those cans, there's a hidden danger that most people don't think twice about. It's not the fish. It's the salt. The sodium trap. Now let me tell you about Robert. He's 82, a proud grandfather of 5, and one of those people who's always trying to do the right thing. Every morning like clockwork, he'd make himself a little plate, whole grain toast, half an avocado, and a can of sardines. He thought it was the perfect combo: good fats, clean protein, nutrient-rich. And to be fair, he was doing a lot right. But over time, something strange started happening. His blood pressure, which had been stable for years, started creeping up. Not drastically, but enough that his doctor raised an eyebrow. His meds were the same, his exercise hadn't changed, and he wasn't overly stressed. Then, during a routine nutrition check, his dietitian asked him one simple question: "Robert, are you reading the sodium content on your sardine cans?" He hadn't been. And that's where the real issue began. See, here's something most people don't realize, especially when we're told that sardines are this magical health food. A typical can of sardines, especially the kind packed in brine or flavored sauces like mustard or tomato, can contain well over 300 milligrams of sodium per serving. And that's per serving, not per can. Some cans have 2 servings, which means you could be downing 600 to 700 milligrams of sodium before lunch. Now, for a healthy young person, that might not seem like much. But for seniors, especially anyone managing high blood pressure, heart conditions, or kidney issues, those extra milligrams add up fast. And here's the real kicker: you don't taste it. The salt blends into the texture, the oil, the flavor, so unless you're reading the label, it's easy to miss. We've all been there. You assume, it's fish, it has to be good for me. But not all sardines are created equal. Some brands are loaded with salt. Others use just a touch. Some even offer no salt added varieties, which can make a huge difference for your health. Now here's a simple, practical tip if you're worried about sodium but still love your sardines: rinse them. That's right. Just run the sardines under cold water for 15 to 20 seconds. It won't remove all the sodium, but studies show it can lower the amount by up to 30%. That could mean the difference between a heart-healthy meal, and one that's quietly raising your blood pressure day after day. Even better, look for no salt added or lightly salted brands. They're out there. You just have to look a little harder on the grocery shelf. As for Robert, he didn't have to give up sardines altogether. He simply switched brands, started rinsing them, and within 2 months, his blood pressure was right back where it belonged. Simple, thoughtful change, big impact. So yes, sardines can be a friend to your heart. But too much sodium? That can turn them into a hidden foe. And unfortunately, salt isn't the only quiet intruder you need to watch out for in that little metal can. Because now it's time to talk about something that's been stirring up concern among doctors and scientists alike: mercury and other harmful contaminants. What about mercury and contaminants? Now let's talk about Elaine. She's 77, sharp as a tack, and proud of the way she's taken control of her health over the last few years. Cut back on red meat. Ditched soda. Even swapped out her evening ice cream for fruit and yogurt. But there was one food she avoided like the plague: tuna. She'd heard all the stories: mercury, heavy metals, toxins. And she didn't want to take any chances. But then her neighbor brought over a sardine salad, and Elaine froze. "Wait a second," she said. "Aren't these just baby tuna?" The hesitation was real. Were sardines just another fishy threat, or was she missing out on something perfectly safe? It's a great question, and an important one. So, let's clear the air. Mercury is a serious concern, especially for older adults. Over time, too much of it can affect brain function, nerve health, and even increase the risk of cardiovascular problems. That's why the warnings around certain types of seafood, like swordfish, king mackerel, and yes, tuna, are so loud. But sardines? They're in a completely different category. Here's why. Sardines are small, low on the food chain, and they don't live very long. That's key. Big fish, like tuna, spend years swimming around, eating smaller fish, and slowly building up mercury in their systems. That's called bioaccumulation. And the higher up the food chain a fish is, the more toxins it tends to carry. Sardines, on the other hand, eat plankton. They live short lives. And they don't get the chance to collect all those harmful substances the bigger fish do. That makes them one of the cleanest, lowest mercury fish you can eat. According to multiple scientific reviews, sardines consistently rank among the safest seafood options, especially for seniors who need the nutrients without the risks. But here's where it gets tricky. A lot of people assume all fish are dangerous now. They lump sardines in with everything else, and that's where the misinformation spreads. The truth is, if you're worried about mercury, sardines are far safer than many of the fish you find in sushi rolls, fish steaks, or even some canned products. Still, it's smart to be selective. Here's what you can do: look for wild-caught sardines, ideally from clean, cold waters. Sardines from the Pacific Ocean or the Mediterranean Sea often come from well-monitored fisheries with lower contamination levels. And if the can doesn't say where the fish was sourced, that's a red flag. Transparency matters when it comes to what you're putting in your body. Elaine ended up trying the sardines. Just a small serving to start. And guess what? She not only enjoyed them, she started having them twice a week. No brain fog, no weird side effects, and a whole new source of nutrients that she'd been avoiding out of fear. She called it her surprise food victory of the year. So yes, mercury is real, and the fear is valid. But not all fish are created equal. And sardines? They just might be the safest little swimmers in your pantry. But before you get too comfortable with those cans, there's still one more hidden concern we need to talk about. Because sometimes, the danger isn't in the fish. It's in the can itself. BPA and can lining concerns. Not long ago, a viewer reached out with a message that really stuck with me. She said, "I love sardines. I eat them at least once a week. But I'm hearing a lot about BPA in cans and now I'm worried. Should I stop eating them altogether?" It's a smart question. And if you've had that same concern, you're not alone. You see, when we talk about sardines, we often focus on what's inside the can, the fish, the oils, the nutrients. But we rarely talk about the can itself. And that's where things can get a little complicated. Most canned foods, yes, including sardines, are lined with a thin layer of material that helps prevent the metal from reacting with the food. That lining often contains a chemical called bisphenol A, or BPA. Now, BPA has been under the microscope for years. It's been shown in some studies to act as an endocrine disruptor, which means it can mess with the body's hormonal balance, particularly estrogen. And while the science is still evolving, there's growing concern that older adults, whose immune systems and hormonal responses are already shifting, might be more vulnerable to even low levels of exposure. We're not talking about dramatic, immediate effects, but subtle, long-term exposure from canned foods eaten frequently over months or years. That's where the worry comes in. Unfortunately, there's a widespread misconception out there. Many people believe all cans today are BPA-free. But the truth? Not all are. Some companies have taken steps to remove BPA, yes, but labels can be vague. BPA-free might appear on the front, while the fine print says they're using alternative linings that haven't been thoroughly studied yet. And even BPA substitutes, like BPS or BPF, are beginning to raise some of the same health flags. So while the fish inside the can might be packed with goodness, the packaging could quietly be introducing something your body doesn't want. So, what can you do? First, take a moment to read the label. If a can doesn't say BPA-free, or doesn't tell you what kind of lining it uses, that's a sign to be cautious. Second, consider switching to brands that use glass jars or other safer packaging options. Yes, they might be a little harder to find or a bit more expensive. But your long-term health is worth it. And finally, just be balanced. You don't have to quit sardines altogether. But like with most things, rotation is key. Mix in other healthy protein sources, wild-caught salmon, mackerel, or even plant-based options like beans and lentils. That way, you're not relying on one source over and over again. The viewer who wrote in, she started rotating her sardines with other types of seafood and made sure to buy only from brands that clearly labeled their cans as BPA-free. She didn't have to give up the food she loved, she just got smarter about it. So, is the verdict in on sardines? Not quite. Because the real answer depends on you, your body, your health goals, and how informed your choices are. But now that you know all the facts, the good, the bad, and the things to watch out for, let's bring it all together. Let's talk about what this really means for your health, your independence, and your peace of mind. Trying to make the right food choices in your golden years can sometimes feel exhausting. One day, something's good for your heart. The next day, someone says it'll hurt your kidneys. And here you are, just trying to stay healthy, stay strong, and enjoy the years you've worked so hard for. It's no wonder so many seniors feel confused, even frustrated. You want energy. You want clarity. You want peace. Not another list of things to fear. But here's the truth, you've already taken the first step. By choosing to understand instead of worry. Now, instead of fearing every bite, you've got real insight. You understand the good in sardines, those omega-3s for your brain, that calcium for your bones, the low mercury levels that protect your nervous system. And you're also aware of the risks, sodium, BPA, and poor quality brands. That's not fear. That's preparedness. That's confidence. Because now, you're not eating in the dark. You're choosing with knowledge, and that's powerful. That's how you make sardines work for you, not against you. So, the next time you're in that grocery aisle, staring at the shelves of shiny little cans, pause. Turn it over. Read the label. Check the sodium. Look for BPA-free. Choose olive oil over brine. That small decision could mean more strength in your step, better memory, steadier blood pressure, even fewer visits to the doctor. It's not about dieting. It's not about rules. It's about freedom. Freedom to age with dignity, to feel good in your body, and to know that something as simple as a tiny fish in a can could actually help you feel more alive. You haven't missed your chance. It's never too late to make a change. It's never too late to take care of your body in a way that brings joy, comfort, and clarity. And sometimes, all it takes is knowing what you're really eating. So, let's recap. Sardines can be an excellent source of omega-3s for brain and heart health. They're loaded with calcium and vitamin D to support aging bones. They're low in mercury, which makes them safer than most seafood options. But, watch for high sodium and questionable can linings. The goal isn't perfection. It's making informed, simple choices that stack up over time. Now I want to hear from you. What's your experience with sardines? Do you eat them regularly? Have you avoided them? Or maybe, are you seeing them in a new light now? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your story might help someone else on their own health journey. And if this video gave you even a little clarity, a little comfort, or a moment of, that makes sense, please tap that like button. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to Elderly Wisdom Guide. Here, we're building something beautiful, a gentle, science-backed space for seniors who want to live longer, stronger, and more purposefully. One thoughtful step at a time. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring about your health. Stay curious. Stay empowered. And remember, sometimes, it's the smallest changes that bring the biggest peace. I'll see you in the next video.